All right, this is Dr. Nick Sotelo with Anger Resolution, and I'm going to give you the three skill sets that you actually need over the long run to transform destructive anger into constructive anger. So if you've been through any type of anger management before, you probably learned some skills. And I'll say they're probably important skills and they're basic skills. But my hunch is that if you've been through a program, learned those skills, and you're watching this video, then they probably failed you. And so examples of those skills might be things like deep breathing, super important to learn how to control your breath and use your breath intentionally, something that I do on a daily basis and something that I teach other people to do. But it's probably not enough for somebody who is really stuck in an anger cycle. You may have learned something like counting backwards as a way to refocus, ground, or distract yourself from whatever the situation is going on. So counting backwards is one. And you may have learned something like pleasant imagery, right? So that when you're triggered and you're feeling like you're going to get out of control, then you conjure an image in your mind, and it's supposed to ground you. Those are all three great skills, skills that I believe in, skills that I actually will teach folks in anger resolution. But they are in the first layer of skills, and you really need the second layer of skills in order to transform destructive anger into constructive anger. So what are those three other skill sets? Well, first, I'll just name them and then I'll tell you a way to kind of think about this process. So one skill skill set is called your core identity. You got to figure out who you are. And because if you don't know who you are, then you aren't solid in the times of strife and adversity. That's when you're really most susceptible. If you don't know who you are, then you leave yourself open to all kinds of attacks, all kinds of distractions, and those things can trigger your anger. The second skill set you need is focus. You need fireproof focus. And that's when you take your identity, you know who you are, you know what your values are, and then you figure out what it is that you actually want. And again, most people wander around this earth for most of their life and they have no idea what they actually want. And they wind up doing things that are just not aligned with who they are. And this is when they find themselves stuck in jobs that they hate, stuck in relationships that aren't fulfilling. And it's because they don't know what they want. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you want. And then you got to figure out how to move yourself closer to what it is that you want with every decision that you make. And then the third skill set is you got to have what I call the fireproof routine. And so you have to learn how to integrate these things that you learn in the process of overcoming destructive anger, and you have to learn how to integrate it into your everyday life. This is where I think anger management, standard anger management, probably drops the ball, is they don't do a good enough job of really helping people establish this pattern routine that's going to support you over time. So this is all about building up your resilience to anger events, anger triggers, which is really important. Think about a Olympic barbell with 500 pounds on it. And I don't care if it's a 500-pound bench press. I don't care if it's a 500-pound deadlift. I don't care if it's a 500-pound back squat, front squat, whatever. Just think about Olympic barbell with 500 pounds. Well, if you haven't been doing the training, if you haven't been putting in the repetitions, if you haven't gotten the proper coaching to adjust your technique, if you just day one step up to that barbell with 500 pounds on it and you attempt to move it, attempt to lift it, you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to hurt others too, possibly, that may be around you. And that's what I call, that's what I see happening when we take basic anger management skills and we don't go through the three skill sets that I just named with enough repetitions. And then when a big anger event happens, it's just like trying to walk up to a barbell with 500 pounds and then expecting yourself to move it. It doesn't work out so well, right? So you have to put in the work. You have to put in the repetitions. You have to do those second layer skills and put them in a routine every day. So that way you build your actual resilience to the anger trigger. So that way you don't find yourself flying into a rage and then experiencing destructive anger. And then you go into shame, and then you go back into a whole restoration process where you're groveling for people to accept you back in, and you get stuck back in that cycle all over and over and over again. So with anger resolution, we're going to show you how to develop those second layer skills so that you have resilience over time. So that way you can handle the small anger triggers all the way up to the big anger triggers. And the way you handle it is you respond to it effectively in ways that keep everybody and yourself safe through it. All right, so that is a semi deep dive on three skill sets that you actually need to learn through anger resolution that will help you over the long term. So next thing for you, if you've learned some basic anger management skills and they worked for you, or maybe they didn't work for you, tell me in a comment and I'd love to hear it and I'll respond to it. And maybe some of you might even need me to jump into a one-on-one message with you to help you out, and that opportunity may come as well. All right, signing off for now, Dr. Nick Sotelo.